I'm going to show you today how to make some big fluffy faux fur pom-poms. They're the cutest thing ever. I've used them on the beanies. I make these beanies for charity, and I was going to buy some pom-poms, but they were like $10-15 each, and like when you're making something for charity, you're trying to keep your costs down. And so I actually went and bought some yardage of pom-poms, and it's cheaper to buy the yardage, of course, and make them yourself. And it's actually quite easy to make them. So what do you need to do to make these really cool pom-poms? Well, you need pom-pom fur, and it's got this fur here. You need a template, you need some long pointy scissors, a marker pen, some cotton or thread, and a needle, so whatever you're comfortable using. So I use a square template, so you can just cut out a circle straight onto the fur, but it's actually easier to cut a square of fur than it is to cut a circle of fur. I'm all about these. I've been playing around with sizes, and my preferred size is 4-inch square, so that's what I prefer. So I just cut this out of cardstock, and it's got a fancy name, Fluffy Pom-Pom Template. So all you need to do is you use that and you put that onto your back of your fur. So let's talk about fur to start with. There's so many different types of fur. There is short fur, it's like it's really short fur, and there's like really long whispery fur. Look at that. When you go this way, it's so soft. So I'll go through all the furs that I've got here. So this one is so soft. It reminds me of my pet rabbit I used to have, but it's actually really long. It's almost like hair. So you've got that one. So you can see how it comes. It's cut at the top, but at the bottom they've cut it. So you've got the length of fur there. So that's the end of the fabric, but there's the end of the fur. Just really long and soft. I love that fur. And the back, because it's cute. Look, you wouldn't think it would have a spotty back, but it does. This one is like sparkles in it. Can you see all the sparkles? And this again is long fur. Very pretty with all the sparkles. So we've got some nice colourful ones here. So soft, long, long, long fur. I've got some short haired fur. This is also soft like a kitty cat. And you can see here it's got really short fur. So there's the end of the fabric and there's the end of the fur. So it's actually quite short. Then we've got this big lush, it's almost like feathers. And it's got, you can see the back, it's actually, so it's white spots on the back. It's beautiful, that one. Nice black, soft, short haired fur. This one here, it's got the pink tips. No, sorry, the pink with the dark tips, which is actually this one here, so you can see it unused. It's actually quite cute. I've got this beautiful soft one. Look at the length of this fur. Look at it. Oof. And this yellow, which is also soft. Now I've used this yellow before, this bright yellow before, with this bright pink beanie, and it looked absolutely awesome with that on it. But I'm thinking this time I might use this soft bluish tealy colour with this beanie. I think that's going to look awesome. And I've also got this beanie to do as well, which I'm thinking might look good with this one. I'm not sure, I can't decide, or perhaps this one, I don't know, black. It's so what you can do is you just make a bunch of pom-poms, and then you match them to your beanies afterwards. That's part of the fun. Now, one of the reasons why it's good to get a little bit extra yardage, and it's a good reason, good to cut out your square, is because sometimes you can accidentally cut off the fur. So this is your top edge, and you can see it's nice and straight, and all that fur is lined up. But if you accidentally cut the fur as you're cutting the fabric, you're going to have like a doorstep in your fur. So this has been cut nice and straight. This has been sent to me by the people I bought it from, and I got a bit on sale, because you can see here where they've cut, you've got all this beautiful fur, and then here they've accidentally cut a doorstep into it because they've cut the fur. So you can see that. So that's short because they've just gone snip, rather than being very careful and just cutting the fur. And they've also done it on this one as well. I got this one cheap when they sent it, because when they've come along to cut the length of it, they've cut the fur, and you can see that big, oops, you can see that? You can see that big doorstep, and that is where they've cut all that fur off. So the trick is to cut just this fabric. Now, it's easy to do that. What you do is you grab the fabric that you're going to do, and you're going to find your template, and then you're going to draw out your template and cut from there. So using my template, I'm actually going to go from, so I've actually cut that bit there, so I'm not going to go from that corner. I'll go from this corner. And one thing about fur is it's furry, and you're going to get fur everywhere. So don't wear your favourite top, and don't wear your favourite trousers. It's best, or tracky pants. It's best to wear jeans, actually. So I'm going to line this up with this bottom edge. This is why it's so much easier to draw a square than it is to do a circle. And I'm just going to trace around the template on the back of the fabric. And by doing that, I only have to cut 3 sides. I don't have to cut this side down here. Now, the reasons why you need to use little sharp pointy scissors is because you're going to come in and you're just not going to go snip, snip, snip. You're going to come in and you're going to slide where you've got your fabric. You're going to slide the scissors into the fabric and snip. So no, just chop, chop. It's all about sliding that scissors along the top and snipping it, and then you can see that you just gently pull them apart. This is how you get your length, and this is very important when you do the top of it as well. So just find your fabric and run the scissors along the top. Take your time. This is the thing that takes the longest when you're doing this. Then you've got your square top, so you're going to come and then you're going to do the same. You're just going to get your scissors right in to the top of the fabric and snip. And then you can gently check that you've done it. Yes, you're on the right track, so just do it again. And then all the way across, little snips. Just so you're cutting this fabric, not the fur. I mean, you might cut a little bit of fur, but not that it's going to be noticeable. And the thing about cutting a square is that it's easier to cut and you don't have weird shape fur afterwards. So there, and then you just pull it apart and you know you've done a good job because you've got to separate it like that. And then we can just come down. I find it easier to cut up than to cut down. I find that's how you can slide your scissors in. So it's very quickly, easily done. And like I said, this is the process that takes the longest. And then you can just pull it apart and off it comes. Now, we want a round pom-pom, but we're not going to cut a round pom-pom. This is where you get your scissors, not your pen. And you want to find your center, so zip. And so a circle's going to come up around here. So you're just going to sort of draw it from this edge to this edge. You're just going to draw just a gentle arc. I normally put my middle finger in the little finger in the middle and just gently sketch a circle. This is going to not be your cutting line. This is going to be your stitching line, because we're going to stuff these anyway, so you may as well stuff it with the fur and not create any waste, because it's not like you can use this for anything. And because these are extra fluffy, it doesn't matter if they're a little wonky. And this is your stitching line, and I'll show you how to stitch this on the pink one because I think it's a little bit easier to see on the screen. So first off, of course, start by threading your needle. I use a double thread, so I just make an extra long thread and double that over. And of course, you've got to put a knot at the bottom. The stronger the thread, the better. But honestly, I just use sewing cotton because I've got it. It's easy. I did try string once, but surprisingly, that didn't work at all because that string's really fragile. And I was pulling the pom-pom tight and it broke. So yeah, it's just double thread your cotton. Nothing fancy needed, and then just start simply by stitching around that circle. You don't want to pull all your fur into your stitches, so just keep your needle close to the fabric, and that way you're just going to be catching that fabric rather than all that fabric and fur. So you just quickly go around and that's and complete that circle. As you start to close up the circle with stitches, you can start to gently gather the stitches together to form a sort of a pom-pommy bally shape, or like it looks like a little pouch kind of. So as you start to pull those threads together and the shape starts to form, those corners of the square, that was the original piece of fabric you cut, you can just gently start to poke into the ball, the ball of the pom-pom, the inside of the pom-pom, and then as you poke them in, then that's when I start to stuff in the stuffing or the fill or whatever you want to call it, and then that's how you can start to create the shape of your pom-pom. So the stuffing makes it so your pom-pom is less sort of wrinkly, and it gives you that nice round smooth shape. Now as you start to pull the pom-pom into the shape, just gently pull those end threads, and that's how you're going to start to close up that pom-pom shape. Don't pull them too tight, because otherwise they'll snap and then you'll have to start all over again. But gently pull them tight as you can, and then with your needle start to close in the end. I like to smooth back the fur, kind of like you're smoothing back the ears of your cat or your bunny. Sort of, you want to smooth back those long pieces of fur out of the way, so then you can access that small hole that you're trying to close. And that way you can catch the corners with your needles, and you can gently close it up and keep going and you just keep over and over again, smooth the fur out of the way, untangle the fur from your thread, and just keep closing it up together, and then double stitch it every now and then to keep it closed and keep it tight. So now that you've got that pom-pom a gorgeous shape, and you've got all that stuffing inside it, and you can't see it, and you can't feel the rough edges of the edge of the fabric, I just double knot the threads that I've used to tighten it, and now it's time to think about how you're going to attach it to whatever it is that you're going to put it on. So I'm going to put it on beanies. So some people like to attach little buttons and stuff like that, but honestly I've got my needle threaded already. I just use that needle or the sewing needle, and I just sew it directly onto the hat, and you can sew through the hat into the pom-pom several times, and it attaches really well, and I haven't had one pom-pom come off. It's so easy. Why make life harder? Go the easy route all the time. It looks good and it's not going to come off. And that's how you make your world's best awesome faux fur pom-poms. They're really a delight. They just add that beautiful finish to the beanies, and I'm so glad I make them. They're just absolutely gorgeous. And now I'm going to make a whole bunch of other colours, and I'd love to see it if you make them as well. I think they just give that finish. They're just that perfect finish to beanies. I just love them.